right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Um, today's today's flight. Excuse me. Today's flight. We're going from Gibraltar, LXGB, departing runway 27. We've got a direct out flight, and we're flying to. Not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Tindouf, East. Excuse me, allergies. And we have a direct in approach on runway 08 right. So we have no nav aids where we're going, no ILS or anything. So once again, we're going to start off under IFR conditions, which is instruments only, but we'll be landing under visual flight regulations. So departing under instrument flight regulations, but arriving under visual flight regulations with no nav aids or anything to land. So could be shaky, or it could be a a good landing today. Won't know until I land. Hang on one second. So, everything weather-wise looks clear over the Western Sahara. Practically no winds or very light winds throughout most of the flight. So, should be nice and clear. And our landing should be fairly easy as long as I can see the runway. Today's flight is 577 nautical miles, and flight plan was calling for 3 hours and 31 minutes, but I think we can make it there closer to 2 hours with no winds. If anything, we'll have a very light headwind throughout, or a tailwind throughout most of the flight. So yeah, should be a really pretty flight. Looks like we'll be cruising today at an altitude of 26,000 feet. So I'm going to finish preparations for departure. Hang tight and enjoy the flight. Our rollout altitude is 7,300 feet for departure out of Gibraltar. Let's get our flight plan. Oops, wrong button. Very light headwind on our departure out here. And just to let everyone know, recently, yesterday, I received a product called a butt kicker, and it is installed on my chair. And what it does is it translates low-end bass from your game, and it shakes your seat. It takes that audio sample and sends it to a transducer that takes an electrical input and turns that into a mechanical output, in this case vibration to my seat, so I can actually feel what the aircraft is doing, kind of. So yeah, my first step towards realism. All right, we are set. Flaps are set, brakes released. We should be airborne just momentarily. All right, prepare for departure. Today we're simulating a full load of fuel. Brakes released. So I'm going to take up a good part of the runway getting out of here. Holding those down. All right, we're up. Gear up. Flaps up. And we are rolling out of Girbraltar. Look at that. That is a really pretty view. Cruise ships in port.
Air 019er, contact Madrid Center on 118.275. Good day.
Good day.
Going to 118.275, Docker 019er. Madrid Center, Docker Foxtrot, Mike 1019er, is passing 800 feet, climbing 6,000 feet.
Air Foxtrot, Mike 1019er, Madrid Center, altimeter 30.15, continue to Tango November Golf as planned. Air 019er, climb and maintain 11,000 feet.
Alright.
Climb and maintain 11,000 feet, Docker 019er.
We are climbing. Light clouds. We should be out of this couple minutes. Passing through 5,000 on our way to flight level 110, 11,000 feet. See, the winds have picked up. Yeah, I think Tindouf. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of the country we're flying to. We're actually going to be flying over Morocco once we cross the strait here, and we'll be in Moroccan airspace for a good part of the flight. Hopefully the clouds break up. It would be nice to see some of the Western Sahara desert. But I think we're landing at a military base. When I planned the flight this morning, there's nothing around. No houses or anything. So I think this is a military facility we'll be stopping at. So, and tomorrow, Saturday, we'll continue our flight down the western coast of Africa, and we'll be heading off back towards vegetation, and we'll get away from the sand here in the Sahara. And I think it'd be really cool if we see some animals. Not sure what to expect, so stay tuned. Approaching flight level 110, leveling off.
Air 019er, climb and maintain flight level 180.
Climb and maintain flight level 180 Docker 019er.
Climbing for flight level 180, 18,000. And I'm sure before we even reach that, we should be cleared to our cruise altitude. It's pretty down there. And once we reach our cruise altitude, we'll be able to stretch our legs and push our velocity up to around 300 nautical miles per hour. Passing through flight level 170 we'll be leveling out at 180.
Climb and maintain flight level 260 Docker 019er.
Dare 019er, contact Casablanca Center on 125.1. Good day.
125.1 for Docker 019er. Casablanca Center Docker Foxtrot Mike 1019er is passing flight level 180, climbing flight level 260.
Here's Morocco.
Mike 1019er, Casablanca Center, continue to Tango November Golf as planned.
We are now in Moroccan airspace. We have about 3 minutes until we reach our cruise altitude. Flight level 260. Today I've got my headphones on, both ears. The butt kicker, the transducer for the seat shake is really loud. Usually I'll take one of the cans off one of my ears. That way I can hear myself talk. Because when I talk on the headphones, there's a slight delay, which is a little different. And for me, something I'm slowly getting used to. So, yeah, I mumble a little bit, and my speech doesn't sound quite right with both the cans on my head, but hopefully I'm coming through pretty clear and don't sound like a mush mouth today. Too much like a mush mouth. Mush mouth. So, yeah. About ready to cross flight level 220. Roughly 2 minutes and 20 seconds remain to climb. So let's open the VFR map, and we'll so we left Girbraltar. We just crossed into Moroccan airspace, and Morocco is actually a pretty long country. It comes all the way down, like right here, and I have no idea how to pronounce the name of where we're landing right here, but I'll post it in the description, and you can see here's the Western Sahara, and we're actually going to be landing here in the desert. So yeah, this is all desert, and then you head further south, and it starts turning green and lush again in the savannah. So, yeah. Wasn't expecting a strong headwind like we're experiencing right now, 43 knots. So that's not good.
Manta Center, Docker 019er. Request flight level 220.
Docker 019er, descend and maintain flight level 220.
Descend and maintain flight level 220 Docker 019er.
That was a cabin pressure warning. So, yeah, I'm not sure why that triggered off there. Shouldn't have. So we'll just descend down to 22,000 feet.
Docker 019er, please expedite your descent, flight level 220.
2,000 feet remain in the descent. Just reset the barometer. Leveling off. Six minutes remaining in this leg here. Once we reach Barris, that'll be the handoff to our next nav point. We are 26 minutes in today's flight. If everything holds true to our flight plan, we have 3 hours remaining in the flight. wasn't expecting the headwind, so. Not sure if this is just over the area and it will diminish, or if it'll be right there for the whole flight. Bumpy up here, but not too bad. Not too bad. Three minutes remain on this leg of the flight here. So you can see from here, it's going to be a long stretch. And I think that's going to be the longest leg of today's flight. Weather radar looks really good. Nothing ahead of us. Nothing really above us. There's some clouds below us, but they're not rain-bearing clouds, so pretty thin. That's a really pretty view. One minute to nav point. A friend of mine at work asked me yesterday, how come there's a female voice doing all the call-outs? And I told him, that's my wife. So if we look at an outside view, you'll notice a male and a female in the aircraft. And yeah, she's my co-pilot, my simulated co-pilot So she handles all communications and preps everything for takeoff and landing. She does all the hard work. So, yeah, really happy to have her on board. .32 minutes on this leg here. So it's 147 nautical miles until our next nav point. So we have roughly 32 minutes and 45 seconds before we reach that. Departure time local was roughly 11:20 local time, 11:20 a.m. So yeah. Yeah, my seat is shaking and with the feedback from the propeller. It actually feels real nice. So it does two things, well, three things. One, provides realism. Gives me, they call it haptic feedback or physical feedback. So when you do something in the simulator, it mirrors that, so you can feel it. So everything from the propeller to landing gear to bumps, I feel that. Something I was looking at when I got this haptic transducer, and let me back up a little bit. 2 weeks ago, I had no idea such a thing existed. It just popped up on YouTube. So I, searched for a lot of flight simulator stuff. More videos of other people flying, just like I'm doing here. And I saw it. And I said, "Whoa, what's that? What exactly is a haptic feedback device?" And the moment I saw the review this guy did, I said, I need one of those. Must have. And current price is $199, which, okay, a year ago was $170, and a few years before that was $140. I've got no control over the economy and stuff, but $199 to me feels like a fair price. And for what it does, it's really incredible. It brings an extra degree of realism. So it takes something from what you see on your monitor and moves that into the real world. So it makes me feel tied in, linked in, connected. And when I was looking at this transducer, I saw these flight chairs, and they're called 6 DOF chairs, 6 degrees of freedom. And what they do for both flight sims and driving simulators is you sit in a chair, and when you fly, the chair moves forwards, backwards, left, right, sideways, up, down, and tilts on all 6 axes. And they generate around 1 g of force, which is a lot. So that brings almost total realism. And if you had virtual reality coupled, so VR, butt kicker, and one of those 6 DOF chairs, I mean, it doesn't get much more realistic than that. And they kind of range in price from $800 to $45,000 US. And I think the one I'm looking at right now is a lot closer to the $700 mark than the $45,000 mark. So yeah, there's a lot of good products out there you can pick up for $2,007 to $3,500 US. And yeah, I think I need to develop like a 4-year plan. And yeah, I can't wait. So yeah, I'm just a real big geek when it comes to games and simulations, and especially flight simulators. You know, people ask me if I'm a pilot in the real world, and I say no. You know, I'd actually be scared to do this in real life, to be honest. I've had the opportunity when I was younger in the military to take flight training, get my private pilot's license for general aviation aircraft. But I was never brave enough to make that leap. However, one thing that I did find extremely fascinating was skydiving. And way back in 1987, when I first joined the Air Force, I was at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi for my training school. And I was there for almost a year. My training school was about 9 months, and that ran over a couple holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. And they gave us a 30-day break for the holidays, which was great. I went home and spent that time with my family. And so one day I was going to the Airmen's Club to you know, drink and, you know, just watch girls. I was a single guy at the time, young. I was 17 when I joined and enlisted. Had to have parental consent, and my mother had to sign some paperwork. And one day my friend Tom comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And it was Friday night. Next day was Saturday. And I said, I'm not doing really anything. He goes, "Do you want to go skydiving with me?" And I looked at him and I said, "Man, you must be crazy. I am not jumping out of a perfectly good aircraft. You would have to be nuts." And he goes, "There'll be single women there." And my next response to him was, what time do we go? You know? And he's like, just meet in the chow hall at 7. And it was one of his instructors, and he was in school training to be an air traffic controller. And I said, okay. So yeah, we went, had breakfast the next morning. His instructor joined us, and we departed from Biloxi, Mississippi, over to Mobile, Alabama. It was about a 2.5, 3 hour drive over, a 2 hour drive. And yeah, we had about a half day's worth of training. They trained us in how to use a parachute, you know, how to skydive. And back then, your first 5 jumps were not tandem. You did it on your own, but you had they call them static core jumps. So there's a physical nylon cable that clicks onto a rail inside the aircraft, and it's about 50, 60 feet long, and the other end clips onto your pin on your parachute pack. So when it's your turn to jump, they call you by name and say position yourself, and you kind of crawl up to the door, and you grab onto the handle, and there was a wing strut that comes down at a 45-degree angle. And I'm not sure the aircraft we jumped out of. I don't remember the model, but it was pretty big in the back. Didn't have any seats. Only seats were for the pilot, co-pilot. But in the cargo area of this propeller aircraft, you could hold about, it was about 8 people. And I think you know, our instructor was there, and he didn't jump, but he observed and graded us. And that day we jumped, it was me, my friend Tom, 5 other people, and so we all jumped, and I was lucky number 1. I was the first one to go out. So you know, had to position up, grab the handle, grab the wing strut with both hands. So my feet were flapping behind me, and we had to look up at the underside of the wing, and there was a red dot, and the instructor goes, release, and you release, and you arch your back by putting your arms and legs out, so you're getting the most wind resistance, and allows you to flatten out. And after about 2 seconds, the static line pulls your pin, your chute deploys. So you're only in free fall for like a second. It's not very long. And our first jump was from 3,700 feet. And the instructor goes, if you want, we can technically go up to 4,200 feet. And that gave us I think an extra minute of free fall time. So from that moment, when my parachute opened, I was hooked. I mean, there is nothing in my life I felt that provided the level of freedom than that moment or moments in time to where I was free falling through space, and that was the greatest exhilaration in my life. And I ended up completing about 28 jumps in total over the next year. And when I was engaged, when I met my wife, one day, once we were engaged, she goes, can I ask you just to change one thing? And I said, yeah, anything. And she goes, can you not skydive? I just have a really bad feeling. I don't feel comfortable. And I said, yeah, sure. You know, I don't want to, but you know, I love you, and yeah, I can make that sacrifice. And I'm kind of glad I did, because 6 months later, you know, we got married, and you know, I was kind of missing it a little bit, and somebody had a parachute that it deployed but didn't open, and on the harnesses that we had, you had 4 handles. One of them was a dummy handle for practice. The other 3, main chute deployment. Then he had a main chute cutaway in case the parachute didn't open. You could release it from your pack. Once you were free of it, you could deploy your reserve parachute. And what happened, the reserve parachute for that person was never packed. So they went to cut away their main chute, cut away fine. They went to deploy the reserve parachute, nothing opened, and it was a fatality. And I was so glad she had asked me to, you know, hey, can you just not do this? You know, you never know, could have been me. So a few months later, believe it or not, the same thing happened again. Same exact thing. So whoever was packing the parachutes made a huge mistake, resulting in the deaths of 2 service members. So after the second investigation, they shut down the skydive club, unfortunately. So that ended my my very short but really fun and enjoyable skydiving hobby. So there's only 2 other things in life that gave me a similar rush that skydiving did. The second thing that gave me just total enjoyment, it put a smile on my face that lasted to this day when I think about it. When I re-enlisted, I was asked, where do you want to re-enlist? And I was talking to my supervisor. I said, well, what do you mean? Don't you just do it in your commander's office? And he goes, no, you can make a special request if you want to take a flight, or if you want to go somewhere and re-enlist, out on a mountain, for example, that they'll fly you on a helicopter. I didn't know that. So I said, yeah, I would love to re-enlist on one of the F4s that I serviced. So everything gets set up. And about a week and a half, 2 weeks before I was due to re-enlist, I get notification that I'm not going to be able to re-enlist on the F4. And for those of you who don't know, F4 aircraft, the F4E Phantom, they're Vietnam era aircraft, but they call them flying bricks. They're not very aeronautically sound, but they're fast. And these suckers were built in like 1964, and they could reach speeds of like Mach 2.2, which was just nuts. And so I was kind of bummed out. I was like, okay, I was really looking forward to it, but I understand. So my squadron commander calls me into his office a few days later, and he goes, hey, airman, are you still wanting to fly for your re-enlistment? And I said, yes sir, I am. He goes, okay. He goes, let me see what I can do. So I don't hear anything back. And about about 3 days before I was due to re-enlist, I get a message to go see the flight nurse for a physical. So anytime if you're not a pilot and you're going to go up in some type of aircraft, you have to have a flight physical. Make sure you're healthy enough to undergo the rigors of G-force and stuff. So I go for my medical check and pass with flying colors. And I'm told, okay, here's the date. You're gonna re-enlist and be here in the squadron break room at it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. So I arrive on that day, and I get a car ride down to the other side of the base, which had all of the larger aircraft like C5s, C141s, and C130s. And we pull up to a building, and I put on my flight suit and get a little 30-minute safety presentation. And I'm told we're going to go up on a C130. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I've never been on one of those before. Now, from what I've seen of them up until that point, they're not very fast. They can hold a bunch of people or some small armor, but they can get into places other cargo aircraft can't. So I thought it would be like a really boring flight. So we get in, get buckled in, and I'm sitting behind the co-pilot up in the cockpit, which was really cool. And the crew chief was down below in the cargo hold, and along with a flight engineer. And we get up and got my headphones on, and the pilot's like, okay, we're gonna do some simulated combat drops. And I had no idea what that was. And he goes, why don't you go in the back? They're gonna clip you on to these two lanyards, get you harnessed up, and we're gonna drop the cargo door, and you'll get to see what happens. So I've got like this waistband and a shoulder harness that I'm clipped into. It's clipped into the ceiling and clipped into both sides of the aircraft, and I'm back there with the flight chief and the load master. And they lower the door, and we're like 4,000 feet up. It's like really cool, a little windy, and all of a sudden the pilot just drops down into this valley, and literally we were probably 200 feet above the trees. And then the pilot starts these wild banking maneuvers that were supposed to simulate, like evading missile locks. And I had no idea a C-130 could move like that one moved. And I'm not one to get motion sick, but I almost lost my breakfast. I mean, it almost came up, and that was just a rush. And they did that for about 3 minutes, and then they raised the cargo door, and they said, "What'd you think?" And I was like Beavis and Butthead. I think the only thing I could do was giggle, and they smiled. Job well done, guys. Job well done. So that was the second time in my life that I kind of experienced just this rush, this exhilaration and rush of adrenaline. Third time in my life, and I got that similar, kind of feeling back in 2000 and it was 2006, 2005, 2005, I think. I had purchased a 2004 Kawasaki ZX14. So that was the 1400cc Ninja. And I like bikes, and I had to put that hobby up back about 12 years ago for back issues. It became painful on my back to ride. But that bike had I think it topped out at like 212 miles an hour. It was stupid fast. I mean, stupid fast. And the first time I rode that bike, it scared some respect into me. The first time I decided to go really fast, I rode the bike from where I live in North Carolina to Massachusetts to go visit a friend from high school. So rode it up, took 95 straight through, and didn't really do anything too crazy on it. On the way back, 5 days later, I decided to take Highway, I think it's 90, go west into New York, and come across on 80, 81 down to 77 that way. Well, once I got into kind of like the lower part of the I think those are Catskill Mountains, the road was like solid concrete, and it was 6 lanes total, 3 lanes in either direction, and there wasn't much traffic, and I think the speed limit was 65 or 70 miles per hour. And I said, I'm gonna get out in the fast lane and just open this thing up. So I was in 6th gear, and I just cranked the throttle wide open, and it just starts taking off like a rocket sled on rails. And speedometer starts climbing 70, 90, 100, 140, 150. So I'm ducked as far as I can duck over to get my top of my helmet under the windscreen. The very tippy top, my helmet was still in the air buffet coming up over that front windscreen, and it started shaking my head. And the last I saw a clear, clean view of the speedometer, I was crossing 170, and the air hitting my helmet was shaking my head so bad. I was seeing like 3 of all these gauges, and I held that throttle for about 10 seconds. Now, there's cars that were in the slow lane, and there were cars in the middle lane that were pulling to the slow lane. Cars that were ahead of me saw me and were pulling over to the right. And these cars were probably doing 80 miles an hour, and I was passing them like they were standing still. Just going past them, and they were just rocketing past me like they were standing still, and I was going 100 miles an hour. It's incredible. So I was going uphill. It looked like it was about 2 miles, like a clear view to the horizon. And I said to myself, okay, let's back it down a little bit. What if there's a chunk of rubber or debris or a pothole? And so I slowed it down to a respectable 120. And yeah, that was just a huge rush. It was really incredible. I have no idea what my top speed was, but I think it was between 190 and 205, somewhere in there. And I felt almost as free as I did the first time I fell through space on my very first static line parachute jump. So yeah, I've got a car now that tops out at 176, and every once in a while I'll let it off the rail and kick it up to 120. I raced a Porsche back about a year ago and kicked it up to about 145. That was really fun, but and I don't do that very often. I'm afraid a cop will tag me and I'll lose my license. So anyways, that story was not me, in case law enforcement was listening. So that was someone who isn't me. We'll call that person Swim. Yeah. So anyways, we're about 2.5 minutes from our next nav point. Looks like the wind is picking up, so interesting. Look at those beautiful mountains down there. That is wow. That is just wow. Looks like we have some mountains ahead of us, so that'll be interesting to cross over those. Anyways, just a disclaimer, you know, I'm not saying you should go out there on public roads and be unsafe at any stretch of the imagination. Please don't. If you do want to drive fast, you know, go to a track, you know, let out your frustrations on a track. So I just want to say that don't do it on public roads. It's not worth it. I was young and stupid once myself, so yeah, I get it. I get it. Alright, starting our turn. Slight turn to the right. It's going to be a short jaunt to our next nav point. Just a few minutes to Burbab. Burbab. We are 1 hour and 5 minutes into today's flight. If we hold true to our flight plan, we still have 2.5 hours remaining on today's flight, but I am not feeling like that's going to be the case. But sometimes I'm wrong. So here we are. There's where we came from. So let's... We're almost halfway. This should be the halfway point here, and we're only maybe 15 minutes from that. So I think our total flight time today is going to be closer to 2.5 hours, which I like that. I like it a lot. Oh, we're getting bounced around. I can feel that. I can feel those bumps. So maybe when we clear this mountain range, we'll get rid of this headwind. That would be nice, or at least have it taper off. I took a couple flights last year over the Franco-Swiss Alps. Some of it was in France, some in Switzerland, and that was some bumpy air, 70 nautical mile winds, and yeah, I felt like I was going to get knocked out of the air, but no, we survived. We survived. About a minute and a half to our next nav point. Once we reach this, the waypoint after that, Rotva, is on the other side of these mountains, and that'll mark the halfway point. I think that's about 10 minutes to that transition. Maybe 12 minutes. We'll see. We shall see. We shall see. So what I'm doing now, you see that blue caret? It's right here. That. I am setting that to 180. Actually, 180. 260 is where I'll put that. And what that represents, or what that will do for us, because we're coming in manually, it's a manual landing. If I have to go around, that this sets our direction to turn off to. So if we don't stick the landing, we'll make a right turn and circle back around. And it's a lot easier to fly the aircraft via compass heading than it is to take the yoke and manually fly it that way. So just getting prepared for an escape if we need it. I don't know. Hopefully we don't. My last flight into Gibraltar had to go around 2 times, so third time was a charm. Coffee time. Coffee time. I'll be right back. we're back. Look at that mountain. It's pretty. Different minerals in the soil create all those different colors. If you go to Death Valley, there's a small mountain range called the Painted Mountains, and they are literally, I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. Reds, yellows, greens, blues from different minerals in the soil create that. Really incredible. Must be water down there in that valley. You can see a lot of green coming down. Just a little bumpy. We're halfway across this this range here. We should clear it in about 2.5 to 3 minutes. We'll be on the other side. Alright, the headwind's dying down a little bit. Let's see if it drops down even more once we fully clear this range. Yep, there's the water. body of water up ahead, off left of the nose. Should be passing to the right of that. A few minutes. Take a look at it. Oh, excuse me. There's the water. Pretty big lake. Pretty big lake. Wow. Well, we are past a halfway point. There's an airport underneath this right now. We're flying over. All right, making our turn. So this turn here marks, let's see, G Golf Motel Zulu, and we are going to be preparing for arrival here at the end of this. So we're less than an hour, I think, from landing, and these 2 points, I had to add these as custom waypoints for landing. So prior to us reaching this, we should get instructed to start our descent. If not, we're descending. This happened when I came into Gibraltar. The tower gave me clearance for my initial step down, all the way down to 7,000 and down to 4,000. It never told me to go below that. So I made the first pass over the runway. Came around. Second time I flew to the airport. Excuse me. I never got clearance to land. I did, but never got instructed to step down. On the third time I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do it myself. And I did. They didn't like it. So, yeah. The winds have died down by 20 knots or so, which is good. So, gain a little airspeed here. Alright. I need coffee. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So today, right now, I just turned on the flight director. I don't use it. Autopilot kind of does everything I need it to. But since we're coming in on a VFR approach, it'll kind of tell me where I need to go, both altitude and steering. So it might be a little helpful for me today. Other than that, I don't usually even turn it on. There's no need to. "19 minutes remain in this leg, and according to the flight plan, once we hit the next nav point, we should get instructed to start our descent." Let's take a peek at the map here. So here we are. And once we clear this airport here, I might request step down to 16,000 feet. But this is where we're supposed to start our descent. This marks the beginning of our initial approach to the area, coming down to the southeast, avoiding this airport, and then making our landing here. So We are 1 hour and 45 minutes into the flight. I think we have roughly 30 minutes to 45 minutes remaining before we're on the ground. We are now in the arid part of the northwestern Sahara. We've been traveling over it for a while, but this is where it looks like it's all the green disappears and it's all sand mostly. Look at that, as far as the eye can see. Let's request start of our descent.
Casablanca Center, Docker 019er. Request flight level 180.
Docker 019er, descend and maintain flight level 180.
Descend and maintain flight level 180, Docker 019er.
All right, here we go. One minute remaining in the descent here. On our way down to flight level 180, 18,000 feet. Our destination today is over here, our airport. Three runways. We're coming in on the far right. They're all perpendicular to each other, so 08 right is the shortest of the three. We don't need a long runway to land. Let's request another decrease in altitude. Let's go down to 14,000.
Casablanca Center, Docker 019er. Request 14,000 feet.
Docker 019er, descend and maintain 14,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 14,000 feet, Docker 019er.
1019er, contact Algeria Center on 128.1. Good day.
128.1 Docker 019er. Algiers Center Docker Foxtrot Mike 1019er is passing 14,200 feet, descending 14,000 feet. Docker Foxtrot Mike 1019er, Algiers Center altimeter tree 0.15, continue as planned.
Barometer reset, I forgot. Under 18,000, reset it.
runway 8 right approach Donner 019er.
next nav point will mark beginning of initial approach, and the one after that will be the beginning of final. So once we clear this first custom marker, if not instructed, I'm going to request permission to descend down to 4,000 feet. So let's go ahead and dial that in. 4,000. That's our next expected altitude, unless they instruct us to descend to 7,000. Alice is dialing 7,000.
Maintain 4,000 feet. Daughter 019er. Daughter 019er descend and maintain 3,400 feet. Descend and maintain 3,400 feet. Daughter 019er.
Down we go. Descending to flight level 3,400 feet. This marks the beginning of our final approach. If you could, ladies and gentlemen, please stow your garbage. And we should be on the ground here in about 25 minutes or so. Please enjoy the rest of your flight. I don't have visual of the airfield, but I think it's over here. Landing lights on. Once we reach the next waypoint, nav point, that will begin the beginning of our visual flight component of today's flight plan. We'll be under visual flight regulations at that point until we touch down. Approaching flight level 5,000, 50. 6 minutes until our until our final turn. Some buildings down there. Not sure what those are. Interesting. I think I see the airfield. It's right over here. I think that's it. Flaps coming down. Four and a half minutes remaining on this leg. Then we make our final left-hand turn in preparation for landing. Should be on the ground here in about 15 minutes or so. I think the airfield is right here. Can't see it yet. We're still 50 miles or so from it, so it's probably not going to be easy to see until we're right on top of it, within 10 miles or so. Roughly 2 minutes remaining in this leg of the flight. 30 seconds to our next nav point. Here we go. Roughly 9 minutes remaining on final approach. We will configure for landing once we have visual confirmation of a runway. I think that's it right there. Yeah. Roughly 20 miles. Yep. That's the airport. And autopilot navigation here. In preparation for landing, we'll end autopilot guidance here, as we're not coming in straight away to the runway.
airport is at your 11 o'clock 12 miles. Maintain present heading and altitude report runway in sight.
Gotcha.
Maintain present heading and altitude Docker 019er. Docker 019er has the runway in sight. Docker 019er, you are 11 miles west of Delta, Alpha 16. Maintain present heading and altitude.
Flaps and gear down.
Heading and altitude. Docker 019er. Delta Alpha 16 traffic Docker Foxtrot, Mike 1019er, 11 miles west inbound, visual runway 8 right. Delta Alpha 16 traffic Docker Foxtrot, Mike 1019er, is on final runway 8 right to land.
The only thing I hate about landing on airports that are either in sand or like in the wintertime where everything is all brown, it's really hard to get a good visual reference to indicate altitude. So everything looks flat. Just a little turbulent air. Alright, we're coming in, straight in. I don't see any PAPI lights, so playing this one by ear. Let's call for permission to cross the active flight line.
Delta Alpha 16 traffic Donner Foxtrot, Mike 1019er, is clear of the runway.
Okay. Crossing active runway. I think I took a wrong turn. So, yeah, I think the parking pads are behind us. Okay. Well, I'm going to do this a little bit wrong because I missed the proper parking spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the brakes on, and I am going to end the flight right here. I'm expecting someone to be at the house here in about 15 minutes, so I just want to make sure I can hear him. Anyways, thank you everyone for flying today, and I'll catch you tomorrow on our next flight. Have a great weekend.